Hello, CSFL. We are live and back today with the CSFL podcast videocast. It is the off season, and with any off season comes free agency, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm joined by none other than the Titans GM, Josh. Josh, how's everything going for you? Have you recovered from your lack of playoffs this year? Are you ready for the off season and ready for next season?
Yeah, I'm rearing and ready to go. I've got my game plan down. Got a few targets, and we're gonna get this show on the road and continue this turnaround of the Tennessee Titans. How about you? How is it looking over there in Detroit? You've done some very good trading, in my opinion, lately.
Yeah, it's been not too bad. We've obviously had to be very active. We started well and finished abysmally last year, so it's about reacting to that. And yeah, our main focus is clearly the draft. But we're trying to. We've got a few targets in free agency, but very much with the focus of we're not going to spend too much because we are a little bit tighter on cap than some teams are. And I mean, I guess a little bit like you, kind of bargain hunting, but there are a few big names that have attracted some attention now, and it's down to us to try and react to that and see. Take a look at some of the signings initially, and then think about players who are still available, players in demand, before we head into sort of the draft period. So should we start with the signings that have happened after day one of free agency and try and break down the moves?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great place to start because there were a few surprises. Some guys that I thought were going to hang around a little later, and some guys who took less money than I thought. I was afraid to offer some of them, and now I'm kind of shaking my head myself. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the first one for me is probably at the top of this list, really, in that Greg Olson has gone to the Giants for 2 years for 4.2 million. I mean, I think we've had some initial reaction from some teams saying that they have offered more money, but I mean, I guess Olson chance to possibly win a Super Bowl in the Giants. That is a good team that they've got there.
Well, those, to the people who are complaining about, they offered him more money. If you go and look at his player page, he has one of the lowest values monies that I have seen. It's only 77. And I've only seen a few that are in the 70s or below. So that is your answer right there, because his largest value is values playing time. And I believe the
93.
The Panthers mentioned that they offered him a deal, and they just traded for, what's his name? Tight end from the Saints.
I know who you mean. Let me just quickly flick through and find it.
Is Jeremy Shockey. They just traded for Jeremy Shockey. So you obviously wouldn't be, Greg Olson, unless can convince him that you're playing out of two tight end sets every play. He's probably wondering about his playing time because Shockey's a 90 rated player and Greg's only an 80. So that's probably what happened there.
No, I agree. And I mean, I can completely understand why Olson has gone to the Giants. They don't have a tight end for a start, so easy win for him. I mean, he's going to be with Manning at quarterback as well, so the opportunity for that is going to be fantastic. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. And I think this is a fantastic move by the Giants. Really, if I'm honest, I think Olson is not that tight end who's going to block. Play a blocking role. He's more of a receiver tight end, which is perfect for a Manning and that offensive set they've got going on there.
I was very impressed by both of the Giants' moves. I was one of the people when the game first started up that was really advocating to get the kickers taken care of, because it's a very underrated part of NFL football to have a good punter and a good kicker. And teams who don't have one are always those teams you hear about losing because of a doink at the end of the season or losing because of a wide right. So they actually got, in addition to Greg Olson, probably the strongest leg in the entire league, and Dan Carpenter too. So watch out for the Giants on special teams and third downs, because they're loading up.
Yeah, exactly. When it comes down to it, I mean, the Giants are going to be there or thereabouts next season, regardless of who they sign the rest of the offseason. That team is in great shape. And yeah, absolutely what you said. It comes down to small percentages, doesn't it, when you're at the top there? And if it is that field goal in the final seconds, you've got to have someone who's reliable there, and not going to get much better than Carpenter, are you?
No, and one of the statistics that I've noticed when I've checked all my box scores this year, the games that were blowouts for me were the games where my punter got a lot of kicks pinned within the 20-yard lines or within the 10. So I think that's a very underrated place to improve your team. I guess we would call that a market inefficiency. A great kicker can get you some more possessions and make your defense, if you have a poor defense, help them out a little bit.
Yeah, exactly that. And so I guess coming away from the Giants picks, I guess the other team that's been pretty active so far has been the Denver Broncos, picking up a trio of players here in Robinson, Avril, and Salik. I guess for me, I'm going to start off with this one. I think in terms of Avril, I think that's a great pickup for them. I mean, considering he was wanting $13 million to stay with me last season, which is why I let him walk. And for him to go to free agency and then get that is a fantastic deal, in my opinion, for the Broncos. He's an underrated defensive end for them. But I guess the one that we were talking about before we came on was Robinson, really, and how in demand he was.
Yeah, I was very surprised by that. I think Dante Robinson was probably, being so fast, one of the most sought after cornerbacks, because, as we learned in this inaugural season, speed kills.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. If you've got a good cornerback set with speed, then it makes your life a lot easier. I mean, we have to look at New England and their cornerback setup to show how effective that can be.
And that's frightening because the Broncos now have 100 overall Champ Bailey, and they just added 75 overall Dante Robinson. And just glancing down their cornerbacks, they now have 3 with 85 speed now. So they're going to be able to handle those 3 wide sets very, very a lot more comfortably than they did last season.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't try and dump them off long, in a pass game against these guys next year, because they're going to kill you.
If you're playing the Broncos, attack those linebackers. Get yourself a tight end.
I mean, it's a great deal. It's 3 years as well, so he's only going to be there till he's 32. I guess the interesting thing is he values playing time as well. So I'm guessing the Broncos have offered him a starting position as well, which makes sense. The interesting thing is for me as well that he's got a good work ethic as well. So possibly there might be a little bit more development out of him. I think not necessarily on terms of his physical attributes, but maybe intelligence, something like that. They might be able to work on him to improve his game.
And it could be other attributes as well. I had players last season in their 30s that were still getting weekly improvements. So I'm not exactly sure what age that's going to end and you just get regressions, because I mean even 39-year-old Kerry Collins improved in one of his ratings for me over the course of the year. So and that surprised me. I'm sure it'll drop down by 20 in the offseason, but it was still kind of surprising.
No, I'd say anyone who's just joined the league as a new GM, go back to. We should try and dig it out actually, and probably put it in the help section. I know that the Browns GM, who is a veteran GM at Draft Day Sports Pro Football, did put up some interesting help on training that I used last year, and my players did improve quite a lot actually. So it's worth going back and I'll try and dig that out actually if I can, and sticky that probably on the help discussion, because if you train you guys properly, it does make a difference.
Yeah, I think it was a fantastic post, because one of the things he also pointed out was that with older players that you shouldn't overwork them with trainings.
Yeah,
I know I definitely set up one of my trainings and I literally just labeled it old, and I put anyone in who was over 31, and they just did their normal 20 points, and everybody else did the 22.
Yeah, and coming back to the Broncos, I guess. So we've talked about Avril. I mean, they're obviously going to need to address and get some other players in his position, but he gives them a solid start. I guess he's a good tackler. He's not exactly that much speed or strength, but he will stop people getting past him, which is quite helpful. I guess for me, the Broncos, I feel they need a bit more speed in that position as well now, to sort of develop that area. But I mean, Selig was the one that I thought was also a great move as well, because now they've got 2 fairly competent tight ends, who can do a little bit of everything.
And they don't have the greatest run game ever, but when you have 2 good blocking tight ends like they do, and it looks like each of them specializes in a different thing. One of them is a great pass blocking tight end. The other one's a great run blocking tight end. So maybe they'll, be one of those teams that uses formations where perhaps Graham stays in for run plays and Keelik stays in for passing plays. But they have a very versatile roster. The more I look at it, the more I'm sitting here thinking to myself, got to look out for the Broncos.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I think maybe it's a case of them trying to get the best out of that quarterback pairing they've got in terms of Tebow and Daniel.
Yep.
Two different types of quarterbacks. So I'd be interested. I'm wondering in preseason whether they're going to try and mix it up a little bit. And as you said, not just change the tight end for plays, but possibly change the quarterback for plays as well.
Yep. Rizzo proposed an idea to me, and I implemented it, and it worked really well this season. I was able to move Vince around and get him put in plays where he could have a choice of, pitch plays if he's going to pitch it to the running back or keep it himself in. He led all running backs in passing in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. He actually got more rushing touchdowns than a lot of starting running backs. So it worked out really well.
Yeah. So that's a great example of utilizing the capabilities of your actual quarterback you have, really.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I guess the other ones are sort of should we talk about the Atlanta Falcons next, because they picked up a couple of guys as well in terms of Bartell for 1 year and Scooter for a couple of years at linebacker. I'll be honest with you, I don't know a great deal about Bartell. I think Scooter was a fairly solid pickup for them though. He's quite a good all-round linebacker, if I remember.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was a little shocked by the Richard Bartell signing as well. I don't know if $5 million in the league with our cap is quite a bit to give a backup quarterback. I've actually been, for the past 2 seasons, just trying, going back and forth with, should I cut my backup? And he only makes $4 million, but he's a much significantly better passer. I wonder if it's because, he has a very good work ethic, but I don't know about that accuracy. That's 70 accuracy is lower than Vince Young, and we all remember the 11 picks he threw in 4 games. So I would be very leery of giving Richard Bartell anything other than preseason minutes.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's not a lot to go on because he only played 1 game for Baltimore last year, and that was literally 1 completion. So I guess it must be down to that work ethic, possibly. He's thinking that arm and that accuracy might improve, intelligence might improve. Develop him for a year and see where he goes. I mean, let's be honest though, when it gets to the actual regular season, he's not going to play because Matt Ryan's going to go straight in. So,
and that was kind of my point, man. Like Matt Ryan is such an incredible quarterback. I probably would have drafted the guy in the 7th round on a 4-year, $500,000 contract, and just because if Ryan goes down, you're not going to win anything. It's you can put Bartell in there if you want. I'm very confident in this my statement that if Ryan goes down, you might as well tank for draft status. You're not going to win.
No. So yeah, interesting. They've obviously felt they've had to address the backup quarterback position straight away. So fair play. I guess the other one though, Scooter, was the one that I looked at and I was like, I was mulling, and then I looked at him and I thought, oh, okay, he's actually a really good value pickup for some of his skills that he brings. So he's a good tackler, he's intelligent, his speed's okay. He's not the strongest, he's not the most agile linebacker, but if you want someone you just need to throw in there who's just going to make tackles and not let guys get past him, for what is it, $3 million this year, it's a great value signing
for 2 years. And only being 25 with an 80 work ethic, maybe the Falcons are banking on that speed increasing a little bit. I put all my points into agility and speed with a few players, and even my older ones, I still saw a few upticks. So again, going back to that V-Gorilla post, if you haven't set up your training, it's very valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I guess we're kind of both agreeing that Bartell possibly a questionable one, but Scooter kind of more than made up for it, I think.
Yep, great sign. Just wouldn't give $5 million to a backup.
Yeah. Okay, so there was only 2 other signings. I guess we can start with the Cleveland Browns because they had a pretty terrible year last year, as kind of expected, I think. But they came in early here to pick up Sean Smith. straight away in free agency on a 3-year sort of $3 million deal. Again, I quite like this. You know, he's a pacey cornerback, cheap. He's not going to get many interceptions for you, but he should be solid enough for them.
But look at those intangibles. He got his contract is based on that 100 work ethic. That was a very, very good signing. I stared at him for a long time last night before I decided that cornerback just wasn't a place where I needed to make an investment, because, you know, a 24-year-old with 100 work ethic, you know, I wonder what he'll be by the time he's 30.
Yeah, true. And I guess the interesting thing is he values playing time, so they're going to have to play him if they want to keep him past that 3 years, though. So they might. This one was an interesting one because they might develop his game, and then they might not be able to retain him.
But, you know, again, though, they also could develop his game and then trade him for even more since they're rebuilding.
Yeah, true. You know, great opportunity for the Browns to utilize him here. And he was solid in Miami, I think, as well last year. Just looking at the stats, he, you know, kind of what you'd expect. Yeah, a good signing, I think, there for the Browns. A cheap signing as well, which is always key.
Yeah. And he adds them to his collection of. I don't think they have they don't have a single cornerback that has speed less than 80. Not one.
No.
So watch out for that Browns defense.
I guess it's going to be interesting to see how they balance off all those guys against each other, because I'm guessing they're all going to want to start.
Yeah, that could be an issue. But again, you know, when you're a team in the position of the Browns where you're not really expected to do much, you know, develop players, flip them for picks.
Yeah.
Maybe they can combine two of these 80 guys for a 90 guy. You know, you got a lot of options. I love what he's doing over there, and I think you can take a look at what the Browns were before the season starts and look at what they look like now, and he's somehow managed to get this roster to the point where it doesn't have a single player on it with a 60 with less than a 70 overall. So he's been very quietly putting in some very strong work.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been slowly developing that team. I don't expect the Browns to be as terrible as they were last year. No. You know, he's an experienced GM, and I expect him to probably surprise a few people this year.
Yeah, they're based on the team that you don't want to play if you're on the borderline.
No. And then the final pickup, I believe, was with the let me double check. Was with the Saints, and picking up the fullback Vickers. Yeah, interesting. I guess they just wanted to fill the fullback position. I mean, from talking to Rouse during the Super Bowl, and he won. It was interesting to get his view that he kind of rotated the running backs into the fullback position quite a bit last year. So I guess this is kind of just an insurance piece to make sure he's got just another set of legs in there.
Yeah, and I've done some research in other leagues. You know, that's a pretty strong strategy, but you got to think of, you know, what you're giving up. You know, most of the running backs in the league aren't as strong at blocking as fullbacks. So, you know, I'm not sure exactly how many sacks Breeze took last year. I'm gonna go try to pull that up real quick, but you know, from what I've read in other leagues, when you do that, you may give up more sacks, or your running backs, you know, average, you know, yards per carry might go down, you know, maybe half a yard, which is quite a bit over the course of a 16 game season. And yeah, looking at Drew Brees, even though he has pretty good agility and pretty good speed, he got sacked 28 times last year. And that, if I had to hazard a guess, I would say that's probably dealing with the fact that he had a running back in there, you know, trying to protect him. But,
yeah, that's an interesting idea, actually. I haven't really thought of that. So I guess maybe it's as you would be if you're the champions, is tweaking small pieces to get you back there next year. So guessing that's his thinking in terms of picking up Vickers on, I think it was just a 1-year deal. Let me just double check. Yeah, just a cheap 1-year deal. So I mean, that team's stacked, isn't it, anyway?
Yeah, I have a feeling it's probably going to be located. It's probably going to be central to what's the word I'm searching for here? It's probably going to be something to do with running formations, because he has a 47 run block, which is pretty high.
Yeah. So it gives him an instant upgrade in terms of run block there. Yeah. Okay. So I guess that kind of breaks down our initial reaction to the first day of free agency. Yeah. Overall, what's your views been of the signings so far and of the free agency demands so far by players?
Oh, it's been pretty interesting. It seems like a lot of the league has a lot of different opinions because I was shocked at how extensive the list of players who got offers was. But it's kind of cool to see how much the league again values speed because Eric Weddle got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 offers, which, that's good luck. You guys have fun bidding on Eric. I will be trying to sneak other guys from under you while you guys are blowing all your money.
Yeah, I guess interesting. We'll talk about some of the top players who are still available and the guys who are in demand, I guess, and get our views on that in a minute. But I guess what was nice to see was that there was quite a range in terms of demands from players in terms of what they want as well. So it wasn't just, I mean, we've seen other DDS games, haven't we, where you go in and every single player, like regardless of who it is, wants a maximum contract. And at least there's some variance here. Players are more, I feel, a bit more realistic with what they're offering and what they're demanding, which is why I think we've seen, a couple of signings straight away because there's only 10 sims of free agency. So guys, if they've got money on the table and they don't feel they're going to get anything elsewhere, are taking offers. So yeah, interesting. I think we'll see how it plays out over the next couple of free agency sims over the next sort of week and a bit. But yeah, should we talk about some of the top guys who are still left? And I think the obvious one to begin with is the real marquee name in this free agency, and that is Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see where he's going to go and what kind of contract he's going to get. I was one of the few who was a fan of I thought that if we could not get a GM for that team, that perhaps we should, the league should intervene there because I think that, as much as we've complained about it over the years and we've griped in the CSL about people not hitting, free agency or the league picking for them. And I know I've been one of the people griping over that because I've had the unfortunate, luck of being a victim of that twice. But at the same time, I do understand that you want teams to be competitive. And if we want to fill those teams, they need to be attractive. So I'm glad that there's a GM there now because I was a little worried that the Bills were going to fall apart without Adrian. And now they have a strong chance of getting them back.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely. And I think Adrian Peterson's asking for about $18 million, I think, at the moment. So, looking at the Bills' situation, they've got plenty of salary, so they can just, offer him near what he wants on a long-term deal and bring him back. So, I mean,
give him what he deserves.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer, really. He is one of the best running backs in the league, and
he's Adrian Peterson.
He's Adrian Peterson, yeah. I there are teams with cap who might try and throw an offer at him, I guess. The interesting one for me is possibly looking at whether somebody like the Bears will just gamble and bring in some minimum salary guys and just say, we'll bring in Peterson and see if that gives us the difference in terms of our playoff push this year. That was the one that stood out for me, I guess. Was there any other teams that you felt could try and snag him off of the Bills? I mean, there are teams with a lot of cap, but there are a lot of teams that are rebuilding at the moment.
Yeah, it's all of the the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Dolphins, the Bucks, all these teams who were didn't win a lot of games. I can't see a player of his caliber really wanting to sign there and wasting he's 26.
Not when he's 70 winning.
Yeah, he's in the middle of his prime. But at the same time, he values winning at a 70 and values playing time at a 73 and values money at a 95. So
yeah, I
would, if you are a winning team, do not play around. Give Adrian his money.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I'll say I hope he goes back to the Bills because
me too.
Because of the move, they were the only team that was bold enough based on his contract situation to go and get him. And they were one of the teams last year that were trying to push for the playoffs. And I feel even though the GM has unfortunately moved on, the new GM is just come in would give him a great foundation to start with, wouldn't it?
I agree. I think the previous GM did a really good job, and you're walking into not a custom-made winner, but a team that definitely has all of the pieces and all of the necessary parts for you to build a contending team, and that's all you can really ask for.
Yeah, absolutely. And moving away from Peterson, I guess you mentioned there was Wendell obviously has had a lot of offers, but I know you've been having a look in terms of seeing who the players who are in high demand are, and you gave me a couple of guys here. But we talked a little bit about Wendell, but who are the other guys that you mentioned to me on the list?
Well, one of the other guys that stuck out was the cornerback. I think it was Antoine Kayson, and he has received bids from the Falcons, the Rams, the Seahawks, the Panthers, and the Dolphins, some of the same suspects. So, with his intangibles, I'm not really sure if I could see him going to a team like, well, actually, I take that back. He only values playing time and money. All of the other ones are actually very, very, very low. So I think anybody's got a shot at him. Offer him a starting position and the money he's asking for. And I love that it gives us a range. So you kind of know what the higher end of what they want is and what the lower end is. So, if you wanted a good starting bid, it's just, near the top of that range. But I think he's a very good guy. I love his intangibles, high work ethic, very competitive sportsman, good disposition, very agile, speedy. So, that seems to be the targets of this year. Everybody realizes that the NFL is a passing league, so everyone's trying to load up on speedy cornerbacks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, he's got a high work ethic at 80 as well, and at 25. Although he's got a good agility, he's got good speed. There's still room for development there, probably. So could be quite a good value signing if you manage to snag him. But obviously he's in high demand, so we'll see where he goes. But the usual teams you would expect to be bidding for him, the teams who are, sort of rebuilding, looking to pick up those sort of mid-20 guys and develop them and either sell them on or be part of the team rejuvenating itself in the CSFL.
Yeah, I think again that'll be very interesting to watch and see how that works out.
Yeah. And then who's another guy that you had on here? I've got here. You had Steve Smith, the wide receiver, was receiving quite a lot of interest as well.
So that's an interesting case. Steve Smith is one of my all-time favorite players. If anybody here is an NFL fan, you've been a fan for a while, Steve Smith was a bad boy, and Steve Smith was not afraid to tell you exactly how bad he was, or to throw hands if necessary. So I'm very happy to see old Steve Smith still ticking in our league and getting quite a few offers, and he's still a top option in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he is. I guess for me, looking at him, I feel he had didn't really get much of a chance last year at the Giants, really, mainly because of the amount of options they had. But you look at him; he's got solid hands, solid speed. His agility is not particularly great, but don't necessarily need that. His intelligence is quite low, so you'd have to put him in certain sets to actually make him effective. But if you just want a third option wide receiver who's got legs, who you can just run on, stretch plays and things or outside plays, then he's probably quite good for that.
I'd agree. I think he's a very good option for some trickery and just, to try to exploit some mismatches.
Yeah, and I guess, do you have the list of teams who are looking around him at the minute?
Yeah, let me get back to Steve Smith. So we have here the Panthers, the Bengals, the Seahawks, and the Broncos. So the Panthers being his home team, I think that's why they're his favorite. Yeah. And in addition to that, I'm pretty sure their GM has also mentioned that is actually his real favorite team. So he's probably a big Steve Smith fan. I don't think he couldn't be. Like, he's just a great guy to watch.
Oh, it's interesting, that one though. Steve Smith, he's got a mix of offers from different types of teams, which is interesting to see.
Yeah, especially for oh man, he's only 26 in our league. I was thinking that he was. I was thinking he was much older than that.
No, he's got plenty of years left in him.
And I got to keep remembering this is we're in 2019 and this is 2010.
yeah. You need to go back those years.
But No, I think he's gonna. In that case, he's number one option quality, or at the very least, a strong number two. And he's one of the few players I've seen that has a 100% in leadership. So he's gonna make everybody on offense around him better.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I've got one guy that I wanted to pull out though, because I haven't seen his offers, but I don't think he's had that many so far. But
No.
I'm guessing because Peterson has been in the main highlight here. But Ahmed Bradshaw is this guy that I feel that if you're not going to get Peterson because you can't pay him and whatever, he's quite a very good second option. I think he's asking for slightly less as well. So if you want an elite running back, he'll be quite a good option for some of these teams who are sniffing around at Adrian Peterson as well.
Well, they're kind of I think the AI in this game is a lot smarter than some of the other games we've played, because his top offer, let me go make sure remember what his top offer is. He's interested the most in the Panthers Panthers offer, which kind of surprised me because they have a guy who's also rated at a 91 in Stewart. So my only thought on that one is they must just be offering him a lot more money than his home team. So Giants, step it up.
Yeah, must be because his playing time is 90. So I guess that must be the reason. They must be sort of offering him at 25 as well. So if whoever gets him, going to get him for at least a good couple of years. He's going to be solid for. I think his work ethic is quite low, so you're probably not going to get much development out of him. I'm guessing, but yeah, if you want an elite running back off the bat, good option there. And I didn't see too many offers in for him at the moment, which I was surprised about.
Yeah, man. I mean, they might not be able to outbid them for them. The Panthers only have about $40 million in committed salary. They could, and they've only got, I think they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10 draft picks. So they're going to have a lot of cap space left. They're only going to, they're probably, even if they signed all of their first round picks to good contracts, they'd probably still only be around 50 mil, 55, somewhere around there. So,
and I know that the Panthers have been shopping Stewart as well. So I guess they're thinking is probably they're going to deal Stewart eventually, because this offer they've been mulling over for about 2 weeks now, I think, to pick up Bradshaw here. So they're probably thinking, we'll get future offers. We'll take Bradshaw, and let's be honest, we know who they're going to probably draft number one unless the scouting goes completely AWOL. They're going to have a very good offensive, running game there off the bat, really.
Yeah, no, it'll be really interesting to see.
Yeah, and so I guess I haven't really got too many other names really in terms of guys who have had interest or guys who have sort of surprised me for no interest at the moment. Did you have any others that you wanted to sort of give a shout out to?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, I've only got a chance to look at it for a little while, so these are my snap reactions. And
yeah.
I think the only other person that stood out to me was the top tackle in the league, because I think we all understand the value of offensive linemen. Staley has gotten 4 offers. The Broncos, the Bengals, the Dolphins, and the Panthers. Seeing the Dolphins name pop up a lot. The Dolphins
are active. Yeah,
they're flexing some money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, he's the top tackle, I think, in this free agency class, and I think by quite a while, quite a bit as well. So yeah, not surprised many teams are trying to snag him as well. I'm sure he's going to get paid quite nicely wherever he ends up, really. Obviously, the main thing for him though is I think his playing time. So if you can guarantee him a playing gig and good money, then easy enough to try and grab him, I think.
Yep, and that's not going to be hard. You get him, you're going to play him. So
yeah. No question on that, really.
That's a strong boy. 84 strength.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's exactly what you want from your tackle, a good strength guy who you can throw in there.
Yeah, he's probably your perfect prototypical tackle. He's got decent speed and agility. He's 6'6", 306 pounds, and he has 84 strength. So good luck getting by that guy. I hope you guys have a speed rusher.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I guess good thing about free agency from day one is that we've seen some signings. We've seen some good value signings, I think, as well. There's still some top tier players available in the market that we've kind of looked at. I think what was great to see as well was that we had 20 exports in the end, considering I know there's sort of 2 or 3 GMs who are not going to be active in free agency because their team's already set. And then we've got sort of 2 or 3 GMs, I think, who have just joined, who they were doing the registration process in the game. So that's great to see that the league is active, and it's not just a case of whoever's active is getting the players. I think everyone is trying to get their guys or trying to make bids. So that's fantastic to see as well.
Well, even though, to those guys who don't plan on doing anything in free agency because their team is set, I've checked. I'm the only team that has more than 40 players already under contract. So unless you want your team filled up with 60s and 50 rated backups, you might want to get in this.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I guess we'll kind of wrap it up there. We'll keep it quite short today. It's been good to have you on just to get your initial reactions on the draft and on the free agency so far. For those who are interested, we're probably going to run a draft one, I think, next week sometime. We're going to have a guest on here who might know a little bit more about the draft than just me or you, Josh. So that'll be interesting to see as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I guess thank you again for having me.